socialist phase of Indian national movement and the phase of revolutionary extremist movement. We'll start with the socialist phase, and in the second part of the class, the revolutionary extremist movement will be studied. Let's start with introduction to the socialist phase. During 1920s, new ideas, new philosophies started manifesting themselves in India, and one of the new philosophies here was the philosophy of leftism. Leftism started emerging in India during 1920s. By late 1920s, by 1927, 28, 29, leftism was quite predominant in India, in Indian struggle against British rule. There were two manifestations or phases of leftism in India, or there were two forms of leftism in India. One was a liberal form, and the other was a radical form. The liberal form of leftism was known as socialism. The radical form of leftism was known as communism. So radical as well as liberal forms of leftism emerged in India during 1920s. Socialism represented the liberal form of leftism. Communism represented the radical form of leftism. What is left? That also you should have some idea. The concept of left in India emerged during Sangam age. Sangam age, the early phase of South Indian history. So in India, the concept of left emerged in Sangam age. In Europe, the concept of left emerged during the period of French Revolution. So often the books will say that leftism is a European phenomenon. Leftism emerged in France during the period of French Revolution. But that is not correct. India is the home of leftist philosophy. Left and right. Those concepts emerged in India way back, at least 2000 years before French Revolution. What was in Sangam age? Have a look at that first. In Sangam age, there was a king called Karikala in 2nd century AD. In the court of King Karikala, whenever the artisans and craftsmen, whenever the merchants and traders, or whenever the people involved in secondary and tertiary economic activities used to come to the court of king, used to present their grievances to king, they used to stand towards the left of throne. So whenever the artisans and craftsmen, merchants and traders used to present their grievances to the king, they used to stand to the left of the throne of King Karikala. This information is provided by Sangam literature, the Sangam age books. Whenever the peasants used to present their grievances to king, they used to stand on the right side of throne. So right side was side of peasants. Peasants were the predominantly rich. Peasants were predominantly powerful at that time. These peasants were the Tamil Villalas. They were the dominant group in society at the time. With the passage of time, as secondary and tertiary economic activities gained momentum, so artisans and craftsmen, merchants and traders started becoming rich. So there was a clash and conflict between the groups involved in secondary activities and the groups involved in primary activities. Those who used to stand on the left side, they were known as Idangai. Those who used to stand on the right side, they were known as Valangai. Valangai means rightist group. Valangai is the Tamil term for the right. Idangai is the Tamil term for left. So concept of left, Idangai, Valangai emerged in India in Sangam age. That's the Indian concept of leftism and rightism. Those who wanted reforms, those who wanted change, they were standing to the left. So still those who demand radical reforms in socio-economic political life, they are known as leftist. Those who want status quo, those who oppose these radical reforms, they are known as rightist today. They were known as rightist that time. The peasants were old, dominant group. They wanted to maintain status quo, so they were known as rightists because they used to stand to the right side of the throne of the king. So this concept of leftism, rightism, you can understand by going back to Sangam age of India. Now let's look at the French Revolution. What was the concept here? In French Revolution, there were two groups: those who wanted reforms, or the commoners. Commoners demanded radical reforms. These commoners, or the third estate of French society, the third class of French society, they were the makers of revolution, they were the leaders of revolution, or they organized revolution in France. So, in French Revolution period, whenever the session of parliament was held, these groups used to sit on the left side of the hall. The nobles and clergymen means priest. The nobles and clergymen were the traditional elites. They used to oppose change or reforms. They used to sit on the right side or in the right side of the parliament. So, in the history of the world, leftism and rightism became popular during the period of French Revolution, though the concept is originally Indian. Coming back to our topic, leftism, rightism. So this was leftist philosophy, the philosophy demanding a radical restructuring of existing society, existing economy, and existing political system. The leftists demanded complete transformation of existing socio-economic and political life so that the power balance that was existing in India since ages could be altered. The bottom of pyramid, forming the bulk of Indian population, was suffering since ages. And the few people living at the top, the few people constituting the elite sections of society, feudal lords or the landlords, native rulers or the traditional Indian rulers in native states, the big businessmen, they were forming elite section of society. Majority of population was at the receiving end. So now they wanted that this pyramid should be flattened. This pyramid should become more of a cylinder, or finally more of a rectangle with minimum possible thickness, with minimum possible social hierarchy. Everyone should be as equal as possible. Feminists believe in classless society. It means this pyramid would be completely flat rectangle. No class means nobody over somebody. Everyone having same social status. Feminism believes in a system without private property. So there should be no private property. So no haves, no have-nots, no rich, no poor. Everybody having the same relationship with the forces of production or with the wealth. That's why we say radical, we say classless society. No private property. In fact, no state. In communist philosophy, state is considered as an instrument of exploitation. Communists say no religion. Marx, the founder of communist philosophy or the originator of communist philosophy, said religion is the opium of masses. So no religion. That is radical form. Socialist philosophy says equitable distribution of resources. Distribution of resources. Nobody should be very, very rich. Nobody should be very, very poor. The state should be there. The state should be powerful. The state should be welfare state. The state should use its authority to ensure the welfare and progress of people. There should be private property. There should be public ownership, state ownership as well as the private ownership. Critical industry should be under state ownership. Non-critical industries should be under private ownership. So socialism is a moderate form or a liberal form. Socialism emerged within Congress. Or socialism represented left within Congress. Communism represented left outside Congress. Communism was represented by the leaders like M. N. Roy. M. N. Roy established Communist Party of India at Kanpur in 1925. So year was 1925. The place was Kanpur, where Communist Party of India was established by M. N. Roy. That is the radical branch of leftism. The liberal branch of leftism was socialism. It was within Congress. Leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Jayaprakash Narayan, Acharya Narendra Dev, Achyut Patwardhan, Minu Masani, etc. were the prominent leaders of socialist group within Congress. These leaders later established or formed a party that was Congress Socialist Party. This was a party within Congress.